Today we are discussing the great world of audits in HR. Lukas, how are you doing?
Oh, good. This is the most dreaded subject for most of the HR people.
It's thrilling, isn't it? It's thrilling. No, absolutely. We are going to be discussing that. Lukas, welcome back to another week in the world of HR Unpacked. Looking forward to unpacking this live with you. This one is all about audit ready, and we're looking at compliance without panic. Now, Lukas, how big is compliance in HR?
It is super important. It's one of the cornerstone of the HR. If you don't get the compliance right, it leads to a lot of legal issues. I mean, I've been there, I've been to tribunals, I've been working with lawyers, settling some cases because if you don't get it right, it can cost you a lot of money and reputational damages as well.
And what's the main thing? What's the sort of the common item that pops up when it comes to compliance nowadays in that world of HR?
I think sometimes people get people get busy, and sometimes you may have things that are nicely organized, everything is working. The main problem is that legislation has tendencies to change, and sometimes people do not change on it, and they can affect you in many ways.
Yeah, 100%. Well, as I said, we're going to unpack that today. We're going to unpack a few things around the world of compliance. So let's get straight into it. So welcome everybody back to the HR Unpacked. I am Antonio Giugno, and this is episode 4. So what we're doing today is we're going to take on the topic that most people in HR actually dread, and that is compliance. So here's our promise for the next hour, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to make compliance boring. That's the promise, Lukas. We're going to make compliance boring. Now, some would say, oh, wait, why are you making it boring? But why do you think we need to make it boring, Lukas?
The best thing is if you don't have to think about it, if things can be sorted, if you have a system in a place, they actually can think for you. So it is a boring one, which is a good stuff.
Yeah, 100%. But also compliance should be boring, right? It shouldn't be something that is fun and otherwise everyone would want to do it. Everyone would be doing it, So it's the hard work that we're doing. So I believe that in the world of compliance, that there's a lot of things overlooked, particularly in HR. And, when we say we want compliance to be boring, that means it just runs in the background while you sleep at night. Okay. So one quick note before we get going, everything today is practical and it's operational guidance. Okay. And the rules can vary as well by country and sector. So we're not going to be covering everything, but we'll be covering mainly UK and Europe at this stage. And if you do want us, and you're joined in online and you're joined in on the lives and you want us to cover US, Malaysia, you want us to cover the rest of the world, comment. We shall do that. And we shall give the people what they want. With that said, give the people what they want. I'm joined by Lukas, founder and CEO of Giugno. Lukas, please introduce yourself to people who don't know you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much, Antonio. So I'm Lukas. I'm the founder and CEO of Giugno HR. We build the next generation HR platform, or HR operational system, as we like to refer to it. It's 105 AI building tools, does end-to-end HR for anything HR related. Myself, work in HR for close to 20 years. Done a lot of international businesses, startups, scale-up, big corporates. I also have a lot of experience, exposure to compliance and compliance issues.
Nice. And I'm Antonio. I am the AI and innovation officer over here at Giugno, and I live and breathe everything AI basically. And just to be clear, while we're here as well, neither of us is a lawyer. And what we are, though, is people who've built systems that make compliance stop being scary. And that's what today is about, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be discussing why compliance feels like a fire drill. Why does it feel like a fire drill, Lukas?
Nobody wants to deal with compliance. It is difficult stuff, and many times people don't really understand it. So, like you mentioned, none of us are lawyers. Sometimes, to fully understand compliance is very complex, very difficult. There's a lot of things, they impact each other. Just in UK, you have 88 different laws related to employment, which makes it quite complex as well.
Yeah, 100%. And, obviously, so what we're going to do is we're going to do 12 minutes on that today, and then we're going to do 15 minutes reframing it as a system rather than an event. And then we're going to go 15 minutes on 4 moves to be permanently audit ready. We won't be going into the show today because we never have time to do that. But if you do want to see it, you can just give us a shout and we will show you it. We'll give you 30 minutes. No problem. So here's the core idea, guys. The core idea: compliance only feels like a panic when you do it all at once. What do you think I mean by that, Lukas?
Because what sometimes happen, just kind of you start hiring, you think like you have everything under control, you start hiring, you start doing things, then you realize you forgot about the compliance and you start looking at the compliance and it is massive. Like I said, it can be a lot of laws, a lot of regulation, a lot of things you need to put in the place. So if you have it all at once and you try to be compliant, it is super scary.
Yeah. And nobody sort of panics about brushing their teeth, do they? Because they do it every day. So, people panic about the compliance because they rarely touch it. They'll do it once a year because they have to, or they'll do it the week the auditor announced the visit. And then they'll try to construct a 12 months of evidence from memory and email. And that's what we want to look at today. So what is the gap, do you think, a team does? What's the gap between what teams think makes them compliant and actually does make them compliant?
I think you mentioned it. I think sometimes it's because you think you're doing on a daily day basis, you kind of think, okay, we talk about the recruitment, we talk about onboarding and hiring somebody. You say, okay, we issue offer, we issue contract, everything it's fine. Now the employee is starting. So you kind of thinking it's already kind of implied. And it actually comes in a place when you start looking into audits, specifically when you have auditors coming in and they say, okay, what did you sign the policies of? About legislation, how we're dealing with these issues, how we're dealing with those issues. So a lot of time people don't deal with it because it doesn't kind of come naturally out. It's something that you need to deal. And many times teams are being overstretched. So they're focusing more on, okay, onboarding, administration, and everything else. So they don't fall apart without putting the compliance on the back burner. And then just like you said, dealing with it when it's flare up.
Yeah. And also, teams think that compliance is leaving or is having policies rather, but actually compliance is making sure the policies are read, followed, or are current, right? It's not the policies themselves. So why compliance becomes a crisis? There's 4 patterns that turn a routine obligation into a week of panic. One is the records live in 5 different places. So you've got contracts in email, ID checks in a drawer, policies on a drive nobody can find. Nothing is one search away, fundamentally. 2, compliance is one person's memory. So it works right up until that person is on holiday. When they're on holiday, what do we do? Or if they leave, then nobody knows what's done, what's due, or where the proof is kept. 3, you find out when it's late. Certification expired 3 months ago, a policy was never signed, and you discover it in the same week the auditor asked for it. 4, you find out, every audit starts from zero. So with no standing system, each audit is a frantic scramble to assemble evidence and to do that all over. And people repeat this cycle year after year. When will they learn, Lukas? So which of these 4 would you think is most common?
I think it's a combination of all of them. I think it is what happened quite often. A lot of stuff is things are all over the place. You don't really have a system that you can hold. And sometimes when you have a system that you hold, it's more like holding the documents rather than actually reviewing them, checking them, giving you, okay, you know what, you should a notch. A passport is expiring, for the right to work, we need to have a current finding out. Just the things that are just kind of being put behind. Nobody really thinks about it. Like you said, it's many times like, yeah, I think about it later. You just keep it in your head. Yeah, it's okay. And then we forgot about dealing with certain issues. And exactly, like if you don't have it, it just kind of every single time you have audit or you do something, you just need to kind of revisit it and compile everything. And that's very difficult way of managing the business.
Yeah. Have you seen a company lose its compliance memory when someone leaves?
100%. I think it does happen in certain ways. Like, when you're working in an office, it's a little bit easier. But you have environments, I work in telecoms and others, and, you have a lot of engineers in the field, you have engineers in the data centers. and they need to also comply with the certain regulation laws and things when they go to sites. And you have a very skilled engineer, knows everything, knows all the procedures, leaves. We have that issues, somebody come on the side, does something silly, and then you go, well, why it didn't happen? Well, you kind of counted everything on one person to know, to have be the source.
Yeah, precisely that. And it's a common thing, which is actually amazing. But the thing is, all of these come from one root cause, okay? They all come from one root cause, and it's not having a single system in place. And many organizations out there are literally running in sort of like headless chickens when it comes to compliance. And here's what the panic actually costs, okay? 3 numbers. This is the reminder here of what the actual cost is. Okay, so 5 days lost per audit. That's 5 days at time that is lost per audit that HR team has to spend, in assembling evidence, pulling all these documents together, playing investigator, so to speak. And also 60% of that's most compliance failures are malicious. So most compliance failures are malicious. Are not malicious. They're administrative, excuse me. And so, for instance, a missed renewal, an unsigned policy, a record that nobody updated, Lukas. But this is good news because admin failures are exactly what a system prevents, right? And 4% under UK and EU GDPR, the most serious data protection breaches can be fined up to 4% of global annual turnover. That is mental. Now, it's rarely reached, don't get me wrong. It's serious. This is how serious regulators take data protection, I think the most hopeful one out of this is the 60% one, Lukas, because obviously most failures are admin, not malice. So why does that matter for how teams should think about this?
Well, it is very important. I mean, if you think about it, the amount of time, and to be honest, I've been there a few times in my life in the past, especially early in my career, that I got audited and we need to spend, we have either you have a financial audits, we have regulatory audits, work in a regulated environment, it happens on occasions. But if you don't, and some of them ask different things and you're not always kind of prepared for it. So then you need to scramble. And that's the documents, that's the things that you don't have sign-offs or you don't have certain things, you don't really think about it. So you spend so much time wasted looking for it because you don't have it in one place. And that's very easy to be solved, a right platform that actually allows you to store all the policies, all the documents, make sure that everything is compliant, that you have working to the latest regulations as well, keeps the data protected. It just saves so much headache. You can really sleep and you can be really safe and sleep well at night because you know that you're not going to have issues, that you're not going to get pulled because you did something wrong with the data, because something was missing and you're going to have a fine or there's going to be failed audit. I think that's the last thing that anybody wants.
Yeah, exactly. So the reframe on this, as we like to reframe everything, is compliance. It shouldn't be an event that you survive, it needs to be a system that runs itself. And in the 2026, there's no reason why we don't have systems in place for compliance that runs themselves. Because the moment that you stop treating audit as a project and start looking at it as a compliance, as a property of how you work day to day, the panic actually goes away. Now, sharpen this for me, Lukas. What's the actual difference between compliance as an event or compliance as a system?
Yeah, I think you want to move away from the events that's going to surprise you. You don't want to have something surprises that's going to come. And something that is come as a system, actually, with the Kumo, we did something amazing. We actually have a tool that not only helps you to create policies that are very specific to your company, that are compliant with any region, anywhere you can make it group wide, you can make it specific for the country, you just can really do whatever you need to. So it's very simple to actually add and create policies that are compliant. But then also, many times people just rely on having audits or having reports to see who signed up, whoever is visiting other organization. what we actually created in the Kumo application is as well that it gives you, it has like overlook on everything. So that's a nudge. Oh, you know what? People didn't actually sign up to the policy. You have a compliance issue potentially here. So you don't need to run a report. The system is actually tells you like, oh, you know what? There can be actually potentially compliance issue right here. So it allows you to move from events to actually preventing the events happening.
Yeah, exactly. And you hit that nail on the head there, because it's, it's evidence becomes a byproduct when you're audit ready, and that's the really important. So it's not a project. You've already got it. You know where it is. The proof gets created automatically when the work happens. You don't have to go and assemble it because oh, they've checked, they've read that policy. I see that they've read that policy and I see that they've acknowledged it. The audit ready also means that you have one source of truth that's always current. So every record, policy, acknowledgement, all in one place, updated as a side effect of normal work, not as a go out of your own way to have to do this. And the system remembers so you don't. Renewals, expiries, obligations, they all track themselves. And the deadline will find you, particularly when in the AI world that we have, in this AI system that we've built. The AI will come and prompt you. And that's the difference between what audit ready actually means and being audit ready. Okay. And here's 3 things audit ready is not. It's not a binder that you build the week before. So you have to remember binders. Remember those binders you have? Remember the clips and that. Oh, I remember that. That's amazing. Um, it's not a binder that you build the week before, then hand it over. If your evidence only exists when an audit is announced, that means you don't have compliance at all. You have performance. A policy nobody has read. An unsigned, unread policy is worse than none. It's proof you knew the obligations and didn't land it. And then one heroic person holding it all together. And we'd love these people. Don't get me wrong. We love these people. But if compliance is with one person's head, you're basically one resignation away from a gap that you don't even know yourself at the moment and you can't even see. So the random Wednesday test here, Lukas, be honest, how many companies do you talk to would actually pass it today? The audit ready test.
I think probably 40% or less. I think most of the companies have audit holes. Sometimes people don't even realize they have actually compliance issues or they have some holes till they don't really, somebody comes and told them, guys, there's a problem. And I saw it in the past as well. I mean, sometimes people expect that we work with a partner or company. They say, oh, we're going to create something for you. It's quite nice, automate stuff. But if it's not done right, it can actually make you non-compliant. I've been there that, people believe big names and fell in a trap of somebody, well, they did a contract for us and it should be bulletproof. Well, it wasn't. It was auto-generated the wrong way and
Yeah.
cost you probably a fortune to fix it.
So, and most people would not be able to pass these random Wednesday or Tuesday tests, would they?
No, I will say a few companies are ready and actually can. And even if they will be ready, that means that somebody has to give me a couple of days and I put it all together. And it's one of those that they're just pulling everything together to make it compliant. There's not many
Exactly.
companies that will be, okay, what do you need? Okay, it's right here.
Yeah. So here's 4 moves that that people can use to practically come away today with these audit ready by Tuesday type of things. And you can start this week. You could pick one, you could pick all 3. It's up to you. The compound effects is what gets you through that random audit test. Okay. Now, the first move is the single source of truth. Everything an auditor could ask for is in one place and a search away. So you start with sort of 5 categories: right to work and ID records. Every employee, current and verified, with renewal dates for anyone whose status is time limited. And then you need a system that can remind you when these times are coming to an end. So that's really important. Signed contracts and variations, the current versions, the signature, the date, not the draft buried in an email thread. Policy acknowledgements in a single place as well. Who signed which policy, which version, and when did they sign it? The acknowledgement is the evidence, okay? And that helps to protect organizations. Certifications and training. A lot of, if you're doing physical labor today and you're picking up things, you need to have examples of the training that people have gone through and the certification, what's required, and who holds the role, when each one expires as well. And again, a system that promotes you to be able to be reminded. Data processing records as well. So what data you hold, why, where, and what lawful basis. The GDPR baseline. Now, for those who don't know, you've either got consent or legitimate interest. And legitimate interest can help you with some things, but not everything. So it's always good to have consent. And you need to have it mapped as well. So when a new customer comes onto Kumo, Lukas, which of those 5 is usually the biggest mess?
So I think that there's a combination. I think a lot of time now people are getting a little bit better because they, for example, have a system that helps them to put all the stuff together. So they may have it, when we do uh, taking files from old system to our system, that's quite straightforward. It's our side of, actually allowing it to have proactive part of it, which actually tells you, okay, that's going to expire. That is not up to it. That's not happening. So there's a lot of things that we can automate and highlight very quickly. So there's, I think, so big part. Also, the certification can be all over the place. People
Yeah.
don't like to put them in a systems that makes it a little bit difficult for them. And policy acknowledgements, I think a lot of companies almost give up on it. I think because it's become a headache for everybody to go, that's a new policy, new version. You're sending people accepted it. You have it somewhere sign up. That's a new starter. There was a physical copy. There was somebody's electronical. Happens a lot. And for us to have the ability of creating any policies, have everything in one place and see how many people accept it. And it highlights it and it's nicely graphically as well. You can see it. So makes it super, super easy and very efficient as well.
Yeah, exactly. Just to create policies, even creation of policies and then distributing them. Because distribution, we haven't talked about that. That's its own right a bloody headache. You know what I mean? Cool. Another tactic here is the calendar that runs itself. Okay. Now, the second move here, the a compliance calendar should run itself in every ways. So every recurring obligation with an owner and a lead time. So the deadline finds you instead of the other way around. So the right to work and rechecks, you need the per expiry date. You need the cadence. Who is the owner? When do you get the alert? This is really important. The policy review cycle, the cadence of it. Who is the owner? The alert. Mandatory training renewals per role, the owner, the alert, data retention purge, all of the same stuff also. Okay. So this is really important. Now, the lead time idea, what's the right amount of warning do you think, Lukas? Is 60 days overkill or is that about the right time?
That's the right time. I think this is sometime when you need to start checking because sometimes, if somebody needs to renew the passport, can be very easy. But I've been there that people took them way over a month to actually get the passport, or get the appointments, get stuff sorted. So 60 days is the perfect timing to start.
Yeah. And the third move here is policies that prove themselves. So a policy isn't done when it's written, as I spoke to you about earlier on, Lukas. It's done when you can prove the right people have read it. So, it's right, it's published, pushed to everyone, and it gets applied to them. So it's distributed. People can sign it if they wish. The evidence is there and they can refresh it as well. This is really, really important for just being able to protect organizations and show that people have read the policy because, the challenge that you have today with these policy handbooks is that people could say, oh, I didn't see that policy. And you have no proof, that something that's where you could actually see that someone viewed it, clicked it, signed it. That's when you skip all of the ambiguity around policies. Now, why do you think that people actually skip the acknowledgement step when in policies, Lukas? Because I've noticed a lot of organizations don't get people to acknowledge them.
I think sometimes I think there's also misunderstanding of the law. Like people go like, yeah, we just send it out and, that's sufficient enough. And they only find out it wasn't sufficient enough when they end up in a tribunal or there's a case against the business for
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know about the policy, but we sent it to you, but I didn't open it. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's very important to make sure that people acknowledge it, because then it is much easier for the company in a court of law. And I'm not saying that, other people are bad or something, but it's always important. So if it comes for any dispute, to show, well, actually, look, we have here evidence on this day, you acknowledge this policy, so people can get out of it.
yeah, exactly. And the fourth move is the one that ties all this together. It's the monthly review. It only takes 20 minutes a month is the difference between always ready and never ready. Okay. So 5 questions every month, and set yourself a reminder if you don't have a system that could do this for you. Is anything expiring in the next 60 days? Any new joiners missing a record? Any policy change that needs re-signing? Any leaver data due for deletion? Any new obligations since last month? If all 5 things are clean, you're audit ready, baby. You're audit ready. And that's really, I know it's boring, but small and boring beats big and rare. What do you think, Lucas?
100%. I think that's exactly the problem. It's always like compliance on the back burner. I agree next week. We deal with it later. We deal with it later because it's not pressing. And it's one of those things that rewriting a policy. I mean, I've been there. I created handbooks, and policies, and it can take you weeks if you're doing, let's say, a lot of policies at the same time. And it's really boring. I need to check on the legislation and see how we. If you have a tool that can actually make it in 5 minutes, you're not gonna be like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna put this for tomorrow. I can just do it right now, and it's
Mm,
very quickly. So I think sometimes people dread is like, oh, I'm gonna have an hour, and I'm gonna have a couple of days to finish this, because it takes a long time.
yeah. So compliance is important. What I want people to take away from today, you only panic when you do it once a year, or you do it all at once rather as well. So the fire drill is a symptom of a no standing system. When we panic because there's a fire, it's because we don't have a system, okay, in place. So we've got to fix the system and lose the drill. Audit ready is a property, not a project. The test is the random Tuesday. Could you pass that audit on a random Tuesday? If the answer is no, then as I said earlier, you don't have compliance, you have performance. Build the 4 moves. Use them as your single source of truth, a calendar that runs itself, policies that prove themselves, and the 20-minute review. Evidence should be a byproduct of the work, not the other way around. The work should not be evidence. Okay. So, as we said earlier, here's the offer. Okay. If an audit on Tuesday would make you nervous, we would love to show you what always on compliance feels like. And I'm happy to take you through a compliance health check and 30 minutes with one of our team members, and Lucas is as well. Lucas, one thing you'd want every person who books a health check to know before they walk in.
I think sometimes what actually happens, people get really surprised how well we can help them, how quick it is, how easy it is, how painless it is when it is done properly. When it is actually built in, monitors it, gives you insight, and you know about the issues before they arise. It's money for 24/7. You don't wait till audits, you don't wait till anything, and it's all automated. I
Mm.
think that's what it is the most surprising thing people get out of it. It's like, wow, I didn't know it can be so simple and actually be compliant. So I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got a few questions here online, Lucas. So we are tiny and don't have a dedicated compliance person. Where do we even start?
Again, if you don't have, there are sometimes like companies can go to, you have advisory bodies like ACAS and a few others across the Europe that will be relevant, that, people can go if they're not really sure. Also, good one, I think now everybody goes to ChatGPT or any other LLM they utilize. So I think so you also need to take it with a grain of sand. So please double check before you make any decisions based on it. But then, having a system in a place as Kumo is, that takes so many headaches out of it.
And someone asked, is it actually risky to keep stuff in a spreadsheet and a shared drive? My take on that is it's not risky. The risk isn't actually the spreadsheet. It's that the risk is that nothing's being tracked and or acknowledged, And obviously from a data protection point of view, itself, it could be exposed. It's a GDPR exposure as well. So, making sure that that's all in place is really important. Lukas, next week we're back and we're going to be on AI Won't Replace HR. That's Wednesday, the 27th of May, guys, at 2 p.m. British Standard Time. We're going to be back live. Lukas, anything you want to add to the people today?
No, but thank you, Anton. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the questions and everything we have. We also have some questions on the audience as well, live audience. I was responding to those. So it seems like the compliance is a hot topic. I think so. A lot of people really focus on it when they have the problems. For us, it's important to make sure that all of our clients are compliant. Nobody has any issues. We support you through the whole process. We have a platform that's going to be helping you step by step and makes the whole compliance for you super easy.
Amazing. Right, everybody, if you liked this, like it, share it. Again, share it with people that may be interested in this. If you've watched it on YouTube, because it was not live, if you've watched it on YouTube, then please comment what you'd like to see in the future. Like the video, share it with people. Thank you, guys. And of course, subscribe if you're on YouTube as well. Thank you. See you next week. See you next week, Lukas.
Thanks.